Hey there, government class. It's Mr. Lambright. This is a quick explanation of the political compass ideology test. So the compass tries to rate you on this kind of demographic. I think it is not perfect, but it is the closest way to kind of rate your ideology on a graphic format. And so the way they do it is they have two metrics that they're measuring you on. One is your economic ideology, and one is your kind of social ideology. So they're both on what you think the government should do based on the answers you give. The economic scale is how involved do you think the government should be in regulating the economy? So do you think the government should have little to no effect on the economy, which is generally considered the far right end, or are you more to the left, where generally it means that the government should be more involved in regulating the economy and kind of establishing a more even distribution of goods and services? The social scale is more based on how aggressively you think the government should be involved in dictating people's lives. So the more authoritarian scale would mean that the government is more involved in dictating, when people can go outside, who they can talk to, what they can say, and enforcing it usually with a certain rigidity. The libertarian side, which I should note is different than the Libertarian Party. So the Libertarian Party uses that term, but it means something different here. The more libertarian side means that you think the government should have less control of what people do and say. People should be able to do basically what they want when it comes to social issues, and they should be able to say and kind of move about as they wish. Traditionally, we're used to seeing scales like this with the left-right spectrum, and the problem with these is that they don't fully encapture. They kind of tried to push that quadratic scale into a single metric that can get a little bit problematic. So we usually see the more conservative side as kind of right-leaning economic thinking, but then they also loop fascists in, which can also there's a way that fascism can be somewhat left-leaning in its economics, but rigid in its social maneuvering, if you will. And the same could be said, communism being distributive, but also very authoritarian. I added that anarchism and libertarianism are kind of left off the board entirely. So it's an imperfect scale. This is what you're going to get in your results when you take this ideology test. Something that looks like this, and it won't give you much explanation. These are my results when I took this morning. And I should mention that every time I take this, I get slightly different results. My little red dot here is always in this quadrant, but between here and about here, it kind of deviates. And I'm not really sure exactly why that is. But what this effectively means is that I'm pretty solidly somebody on the left who believes that the government should be involved in managing the economy and the distribution of wealth. And generally, I also believe that the government should have little to do with our social values and controlling what people do and say with their time. The opposite would be up here. They give some historical figures as kind of reference points. They're, again, imperfect, but it will give you a general idea. Now, if you end up right here, it does not mean you are Hitler. If you end up right here, it does not mean you're Margaret Thatcher. It's just a general idea of the type of policies that you do. And this doesn't factor in, of course, very monstrous policies that say Stalin and Hitler brought about socially, right? This isn't measuring their particular discrimination against certain ethnic groups. But it gives a general idea of where you might be. It's worth mentioning that the entire United States government and political spectrum exists in this pane. Republicans are more up here, Democrats about here. I've heard Bernie Sanders exists somewhere around here, maybe down into here. I'm not sure why I'm all the way down here again, because I don't think I'm that far more progressive than Bernie Sanders, but again, it's an imperfect scale. When you're finished, you can copy and paste your result page like this into the OneNote assignment that you'll find in your assignments tab that looks something like this. Go ahead and then answer the questions here as best you can.